Good evening, everyone. My name is Wayne Harris. I'm the chairman for the Anne Arundel County Liquor Board. I am calling the September 10th, 2024 Liquor Board hearing to session. All hearings of the board are now transcribed and stored electronically. These transcripts, serving as minutes of the hearing, are accessible for review by scheduling an appointment with the board. With that being said, I am now making a motion that the transcripts of the previous board hearings held on August 13th, 2024 be accepted by the board for that date, and I'm asking for a second. Thank you. Commissioner Duffy has seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous decision. Accepted. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to our attorney, Mr. Praley.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple announcements tonight, everybody. Good evening. Thank you for being here. My name is Jimmy Praley. I serve as counsel to the board. Make a few brief announcements before each and every one of these meetings. The first deals with conflicts of interest. Each and every commissioner before you tonight has other outside interests. If they know that they have a conflict of interest or the appearance of a conflict of interest, they'll recuse themselves from any given matter. But due to the fact that our meetings are open to the public and members of the public may come to testify in support or in opposition of any given case, it'd be impossible for each and every commissioner to know whether a potential conflict could arise. So when your case is called, if for some reason you believe one commissioner or several of the commissioners has a conflict, you need to make that known to the board when the case is called. Otherwise, the board's going to proceed forward under the assumption that there are no conflicts. Second, the rules of this board provide that the chair, for the purposes of administrative and judicial economy, can have board's counsel rule on objections if there are counsel representing applicants or opponents and objections are made as to any particular line of questioning or any particular document. So if that happens, there's a good chance that the chairman will turn to me and I will then make a ruling on the admissibility of evidence or a particular line of testimony, and that will be the ruling of the board and the chair. Those are the only announcements tonight. Before we turn it over to Chief Inspector Jim Ford to call the first case, we do have one preliminary matter on the docket tonight, and that is the acceptance and potential discussion of the board's newly updated rules and regulations. Just for the record, we've received no comment from the public on the proposed amendments to the rules and regulations. They've been posted appropriately for the requisite period of 10 days. So with that, I will turn it over to the chairman, Mr. Harris.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Praley. Before I call for a motion, I'd like to check with the board, the commissioners, and see if they have any comments that they'd like to make in reference to that. Otherwise, I'm ready to proceed and make a motion. Okay, no comments, nothing? Okay, thank you both. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a motion that we accept the updated proposed amendments for the revisions to the rules and regulations, especially under the fact that we haven't had any comments at all or any questions from anybody. So my motion is to accept it, and I'm looking for a second.
I second the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Snoops. We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimously voted, so they are in effect. Thank you. Mr. Praley, I'll turn it back over to you for now.
All right.
Chief.
Yep, perfect. I was going to pass the torch to Chief Ford. Go ahead.
Thank you, gentlemen. I do have one quick announcement before we get into the cases, and that is that the violation case concerning Garton LLC has been postponed until October 8th, 2024. And our first case is Doc and Annie's, Doc and Annie LLC. Thank you, Mr. Lyman. Anyone wishing to testify for or against, please approach the table, remain standing, and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. You may be seated. And Detective, if we could begin with you, state your name and address for the record.
Detective James Mountcastle, Anne Arundel County Police Department.
Detective Thomas Middleton, Anne Arundel County Police Department.
Good evening. My name is Brian Lyman, L-Y-M-A-N. On behalf of the licensee, Mr. Bandari, seated to my left.
I'm Ashish Mandari, the licensee for Doc and Annie's.
Your address, sir?
5920 Ritchie Highway is the address for the store, and my address is 905 Mark Road, Brooklyn, Maryland.
Thank you.
Alvin Whitney, I'm an employee of Doc and Andy's, 5920 Ritchie Highway.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Detective, if you could please provide us with a statement of facts.
Good evening, Detective Middleton, Anne Arundel County Police. This incident was June 11th of this year, 2024, approximately 8:30 p.m. Detective Mountcastle and I were working Operation Save, conducting alcohol sales compliance checks of retail businesses in Anne Arundel County. Directed confidential source, verified age of 19 years of age to certified MVA records, which I have here tonight, if needed, to enter the Doc and Annie's liquor store located at 5920 Ritchie Highway in Brooklyn, Anne Arundel County, Maryland. We observed the confidential source enter the business. The CS went inside the store, picked out a 12-pack of Modelo beer, took it to the front counter. The clerk did ask the CS for identification. The CS advised that she had lost her identification. CS was given official Anne Arundel County funds and was able to purchase a Modelo beer from the clerk at that time. CS exited the business, immediately turned over the alcoholic beverages to us. I know through my training, knowledge, and experience that Modelo beer is an alcoholic beverage. Detective Mountcastle and myself entered the store, identified ourselves as police officers, and asked the clerk for identification. The clerk advised that he was a new employee and did not have identification. We asked him to call the owner of the store, and he refused. The clerk just stood there behind the counter and stared at us. The clerk, who we were able to later identify, was Tihendra Lamechane, with a date of birth of January 7, 1991. He continued to ring up new customers walking into the store. We advised that we were going to lock the front door, and the subject from upstairs heard us downstairs and came down, identified himself as Alvin Whitey, and he advised that the clerk had only been working there for 15 days and had some language issues. Mr. Whitney, advised that he called the owner, and approximately 20 minutes elapsed, and the owner, who we identified as Ahish Bandari, arrived on the scene. Mr. Bandari advised that the clerk was not alcohol awareness trained, nor on the manager's agreement. He was advised of the violation. A photograph was taken of both subjects, the Anne Arundel County liquor license that was hanging in the business, and a photograph of the Modelo beer was taken and then subsequently destroyed. The clerk was not cooperative, and the store was not busy at the time of the sale. And then a copy of this report was forwarded to the Anne Arundel County Liquor Board, and that would be my statement of facts.
All right, thank you, Detective. Mr. Lyman, questions?
Thank you. Corporal Middleton, just to be clear, the photograph was not destroyed of the Modelo, it was the beer that was destroyed, is that right?
Correct. The photograph was submitted with the report.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure because the sentence didn't read that clearly to me. Is it true that the confidential source lost her identification?
Pardon?
Do you know if the confidential source lost her identification?
That's what she told the clerk.
Okay. Do you know if that was true or not?
Her statement?
Right.
But she did not have identification with her at all.
Okay. But you don't know if she lied to the clerk, correct?
Well, she did. She told the clerk that she had lost her identification, I guess, to cover the fact that she didn't have one to produce.
Mr. Whitney, when he appeared, was he cooperative with you?
Yes.
Okay. And do you believe that Mr. Whitney's observation that the clerk was new and had language issues is accurate?
Yes.
Okay. I don't have any further questions.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, questions?
Detective Middleton, when this occurred and you were talking to the clerk who actually made the sale, and you say he was uncooperative, could you expound a little bit more on that? Was it his words, his actions, or a combination? Or he was very, if I just describe him, it was very cold, very
like he would just ignore us. He just kept doing business as usual, like we weren't even there. The new customers were coming in, he was ringing up people, he's just like, was like, I'm not gonna deal with you because I'm not gonna, like, almost pretend that we weren't there.
Okay. No, that's-
That trying to, explain the sense of what was going on.
And at that time, when you told him that you were going to lock the door, is that correct?
Correct.
That's when Mr. Whitney came downstairs?
Yes.
Okay. I have no further questions for the detective.
Commissioner Duffy, any questions? No questions. Commissioner Snoops? No questions. All right, Mr. Lyman, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. I think we're going to proceed by way of an admission on the underage service violation with an explanation. Sure. And then I'll address each of the other counts in sequence. But let me talk a little bit about the underage service issue. There is not an excuse for underage service, as the board well knows. Mr. Bandari knows that. We do have an explanation for what occurred. His manager, who was supposed to have been on duty at this time, went into labor, and she was not available. Mr. Bandari has been excoriated by me to make sure that all of his current managers who are on the premises know that they need to lock the door and close the establishment if they need to leave the premises. He understands that. He takes the underage service of alcohol seriously, and the clerk at issue, as the board probably knows from my letter, was immediately terminated, and it was not available to attend tonight. I suppose he could obviously be charged for a criminal offense also, if the board wants to make that referral. We don't have an excuse to underage service of minors in this case. I believe the cooperation charge bears some consideration by the board, to be fair. And I heard from the chairman a question directed at that. We don't have a situation where the clerk was combative, was anything more than potentially confused and overwhelmed with the situation and making a poor decision. I don't have his testimony to put on before the board. I don't have a witness other than the detective or the corporal who was there who described it. But I didn't hear that the clerk was particularly contemptuous, combative, anything worse than just perhaps not understanding what was happening. A phone call was placed to Mr. Whitney, who is here as a witness. I can give you his testimony as to the cooperation charge. I proffer to the board that he will indicate that he did the best he could with the situation. He was close. He actually, I believe, resides upstairs from this premises. Subsequently, he has been made a manager of the establishment and is an employee at Doc and Annie's and knows that this is a serious matter and understands, and did at the time actually, the cooperation issues. In June, he was not a manager. He was not at the premises in his capacity as a manager, and that remains an issue that Mr. Bandari is here to accept a consequence for from the board. Mr. Bandari, as the board may or may not know, is under contract to sell Doc and Annie's. The sale is obviously contingent on an appropriate transfer of the license. My office has submitted the transfer application to the board, and as soon as we can get this dealt with, we hope to be in front of the board to present the new applicant. The new applicant has been made a manager and is spending time at the establishment and is interested in making sure that no further issues occur. I don't have him here tonight because he wasn't summoned, but a management agreement has been filled out. And he is spending time at the establishment as an employee of your licensee, of Mr. Bandari. The cooperation charge, I would ask the board to look at that carefully and to consider the fact that we already had an employee who was acting in an unauthorized manner, was new to the establishment, and as Mr. Bandari explained to the officers, was not alcohol certified. There isn't a restriction on the license at this time for immediate alcohol training, which is why I presume that we have a fourth charge, which is section 1902.1A of the state code, which is actually particular to Anne Arundel County. And I looked it up, and it looks like we don't actually have a very good defense to that either, since that says that we're supposed to have a tips and TAMs trained manager on site when the doors are unlocked to the public. So fundamentally what we have is what I think ought to be potentially merged into one violation, that's 1 and 2, even though there's 2 statutory or a statute and a rules violation. I would ask the board to consider merging those counts because we had only had 1 instance of underage service. We had a rules violation arguably for cooperation, given that the individual who was on site, who was responsible for the violation, aside from Mr. Bandari, who's the licensee, who knows he's responsible for every violation that occurs at the establishment, for cooperation, I believe was eventually rectified. The officers did not have to lock the door, and we did have Mr. Whitney appear and deal with the instance and produced Mr. Bandari, the licensee, on about 20 minutes' notice. Mr. Bandari was trying to be responsible to the officers once the violation occurred. He had an error in judgment, and he knows he's going to have to accept the consequences of that. He also understands that this is not his first violation. He, as a new licensee in front of this board, had 2 immediate violations that we want to disclose that I'm sure the board has looked at. But Mr. Bandari said to me, this is my 3rd violation. I had 2 in about 3 weeks when I first became a licensee back in 2022. I didn't delve into what happened in those cases. I didn't represent Mr. Bandari in those cases. But this is the 3rd underage service violation in less than 2 years. And we all know, including Mr. Bandari, that the board takes this seriously, and he's going to have to suffer an appropriate penalty that the board determines. I would urge the board to carefully consider merging counts 1 and 2 and consider the control over the cooperation issue that the licensee actually had at the time when the violation occurred, which was very little. There was an individual who shouldn't have been left in charge of the premises, and here we are to ask the board to carefully consider a consequence. Anything to add, Mr. Bandari?
Just a natural labor situation for the lady, and I had no option. And he was just a stocking clerk who was there at that time, and he was clearly confused because of the language barrier. So that was exactly what happened in regards to how he dealt with the officer. So I'd like to apologize for that.
And Mr. Whitney, do you have anything to add? Do you understand the board's rules and regulations and your position as a manager?
I do.
Okay.
At the time that everything was going down, I did everything to the best of my ability that I knew how to do and tried to diffuse the situation as I saw fit.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
I do. I have a few questions. First one's directed at Mr. Lyman. I think you were questioning the detective in reference to the clerk making a falsehood or a lie. And that's pretty common in these type of situations. They're not going to normally admit to the fact that they're minors. My biggest concern was the combativeness, or lack of cooperation. And even though it wasn't directed, as in some previous cases, directly at the detectives, he was still, I feel, doing his best not to cooperate with them. So I'm taking that into consideration, in reference to that. Mr. Whitney, I want to thank you, because I think you probably, like you said, defused the situation. It could have been a lot worse, or may have been a lot worse, until the owner showed up. So thank you for that. And I understand you're now a manager.
Yes.
Have you attended the alcohol awareness training course?
Yes.
And you've completed that?
Yes.
Okay, good, good. Well, looks like you have a gentleman to help you in the interim, and you're in the process of doing a sale, I understand also.
Yes, that's correct.
Well, all of that is interesting, and Mr. Lyman made a good case as far as these issues, and thank him for that. I have no further questions for any of us at this point.
Any questions, Commissioner Duffy? Commissioner Snoops? Anything you want to add, Mr. Lyman?
I was just waiting for my question from the chairman that he said was coming. But I didn't hear it. But
More of a
anyway.
statement.
Mr. Chairman noted, frankly, my question was directed at potentially encouraging the SAVE program to not overtly and repeatedly lie to the licensees, because we sit on this side of the table and some folks in the business are trying to do their best. That was the point of the question, and that may be a little extra editorial, but nevertheless, I just wanted to point out and highlight for the record that perhaps the young lady had not lost her license as she told the clerk. That's all.
And I knew what you were doing. And what I was trying to do there was just point out the fact that if they hadn't asked her a question at all, she wouldn't have lied to them. But nevertheless, they did sell to a minor. And but thank you, Mr. Lyman. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nothing further.
I think under normal circumstances, this is Mr. Dowery, this is kind of directed at you and your attorney. This is the third offense in a short amount of time, which Mr. Lyman has pointed out correctly. Within 3 weeks, there was the first two offenses. Granted, you were a young business, but you were duly warned. I remember that particularly, the conversations, and I think the fact that it occurred again, even though you weren't present, it's a gross violation of your responsibility to make sure things like that don't happen. I understand there might have been circumstances why that clerk was there, but I think you would have been better served if you'd have closed and locked your doors, and you could see that what could have been avoided. With that being said, with the third offense, there's a possibility you would have received a fairly heavy, if found guilty, you would have received a fairly heavy fine and possibly a suspension of license. I've taken everything into consideration. I am going to, and it's something that I don't normally do, I am going to merge those first two, the violation for minors and under the age of 21, in this circumstances, because I probably would have fined you $1,500 for each one of them, which would have been a total, I would have made a motion to fine you for that, of $3,000. But instead, I'm going to merge the two and make a motion that we fine you a total of $2,000 for the merged charges. I'm also going to find you guilty of the cooperation, because I do feel that even though it wasn't you directly, there was a lack of cooperation which should have occurred to those officers. They have a job to do, they try to do it, and when things make it more difficult, that's not helpful. And the alcohol awareness training is something hopefully you, as a licensee, understand. We take this very serious, and so does the state of Maryland, both the county and the state, and that's where I'm going at with that. So what I'm going to do is, my motion is to combine the first two charges. I'm going to make a motion for a fine of a total of $2,000 for both charges, and I'm also going to fine you $100 for cooperation and $100 for the alcohol awareness. So the fines are a total of $2,200. It could have been more, but more importantly, it could have been a recommendation or a motion for a suspension. And so please be aware of that. Okay, I have a motion. I'm looking for a second.
I second the motion for the merging of the first two counts and $100 for the second count.
For the cooperation, and
Yeah,
$100
for
for the alcohol.
cooperation, because I found the
Thank you.
cooperation is being very disrespectful.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner Duffy. I have a second. I'm looking for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Thank you, and Mr. Whitney, particularly, thank you. Like I say, I think you did help diffuse the situation. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr.
Officers,
Chairman. Thank you, Commissioners.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, gentlemen. Our next case is Severn Liquor Discount Mart, C&J Liquor Discount, Inc., Chul Lee, Vice President, Ethel Lee, President, Gary Hawk, Vice President. Detective Middleton, Number 1061, Detective Mountcastle. Number 1155, Inspector Earl Barnes. This is for a,
Oh, sorry. I'm the daughter. I'm just here for support and translation to help translate.
great,
Okay.
thank you. This is for a Class A beer, wine, liquor, and Sunday license located at 795860 Crane Highway, Glen Burnie, Maryland, 21061. This is restricted. As of 8/24/2005, all employees be certified in an approved alcohol awareness training course within 60 days of hire or transfer. The first violation is as follows: violation of the rules and regulations of the Board of License Commissioners for Anne Arundel County, Chapter 4, Section 4.01A, minors, regarding Anne Arundel County Police Report number 24-720740 by Detective Middleton, number 1061, and Detective Mountcastle, number 1155, incident dated June 9th, 2024. Number 2, violation of alcoholic beverages and cannabis article, annotated Code of Maryland, Title 6, Section 6-304, selling or providing alcoholic beverages to individuals under the age of 21 years, regarding Anne Arundel County Police Report number 24720740 by Detective Middleton, number 1061, and Detective Mountcastle, number 1155, incident dated June 9th, 2024. If you could all please raise your right hands. Repeat, do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You may be seated. And if you could please state your name and address for the record.
Detective James Mountcastle, Anne Arundel County Police Department.
Detective Thomas Middleton, Anne Arundel County Police.
Arundel Lee, address is 6795 Crane Highway, Glen Burnie, Maryland, 21061.
Thank you.
My name is Charles Lee, just 7958 Crane Highway, Glen Burnie, Maryland, 21061.
And just for the record, if you could also state your name and address.
My name is Judy Lee.
Okay, and Ms. Lee, can we get your address too?
Do I just say the business address?
Business or home address is fine.
My home address is 3026 Forum Place, Ellicott City, Maryland, 21042.
Okay, thank you. Now, before we proceed forward with the detective's statement of facts, you all are here unrepresented by counsel tonight. Do you wish to go forward without the assistance of an attorney?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Detective, statement of facts, please.
Detective Mountcastle. On 6/9/2024 at approximately 11:35 hours, Detective Middleton and I were working Operation Save, conducting alcohol sales compliance checks of retail businesses. We directed a confidential source, 19 years of age, to enter the Severin Liquors, it's actually Severin Liquor Discount Mart, at 7958 Crane Highway, Glen Burnie, Anne Arundel County, Maryland. We observed the confidential source enter the business. The confidential source went to the store and picked out a 12-pack of Modelo beer and took it to the front counter. The clerk did not ask the confidential source for identification. The clerk did ask the confidential source how old she was, and she replied 22. The confidential source was given official Anne Arundel County funds and was able to purchase the Modelo beer from the clerk. The confidential source exited the business and immediately turned over the alcoholic beverage to myself and Detective Middleton. We both know through our training, knowledge, and experience that Modelo beer is an alcoholic beverage. Detective Middleton and I entered the store, identified ourselves as police, and identified the clerk as first name is C-H-U-L, middle name S-E-I, last name Lee, with a date of birth of 8/21/58. Mr. Lee advised that he is the owner of the store and advised that he had the alcohol awareness training. Mr. Lee was shaking his head in disappointment and stated, "I know I made a mistake. I should not have sold it to her." A photograph was taken of Mr. Lee and the Anne Arundel County liquor license. A photo was taken of the Modelo beer, and then the beer was destroyed. Mr. Lee was very cooperative, and the store was not busy. A copy of the report was forwarded to the Anne Arundel County Liquor Board, and that's a statement of facts.
All right, thank you, Detective. Now, Mr. and Ms. Lee, this is your chance to ask the detective any questions that you may have based on the statement of facts. You'll get the opportunity to present your case in a little bit, but if you have any questions based on the statement of facts, now's your time to ask.
물어볼 거 있냐? 물어볼 거 없어. 근데 그 사람이 지금 아빠가
I told just ask ID. Because he don't know ID. They say, how old are you?
Hold on 1 second. We need to speak one at a time because we have a court reporter who's transcribing everything. So just slow down for a minute, and if there is a question, you can certainly ask a question, okay?
May I ask the question?
Sure.
He says that he had asked her for the ID and she said she didn't have ID. So then he asked, how old are you? So he believes that he did ask for some ID. So, and that's different from what you have.
Next time, bring it down just to get to do it.
Yeah, she doesn't
I can sell it for no more. Just if you do it next time, you know ID.
She doesn't have an ID on her. We make sure she doesn't have one, so she's just to have one to show.
Right. I think you had said that he didn't ask for ID, but he did. He's saying that he did.
Okay. He
Just-
didn't see any ID.
Yes. Yes.
Got it.
Okay. We understand.
Yes.
Any more questions based on the statement of
더
facts?
물어볼 거 있어?
No.
No? Okay. Mr. Chairman,
My
questions?
fault.
Yeah.
I've had just a couple questions. Mr. Foley, or Choli,
Just for the detective right
oh,
now.
I'm sorry,
Yeah, no,
I
it's okay.
apologize, I was jumping the gun again. Mr. Lee was cooperative, I think you said very cooperative,
Very
correct?
cooperative, yes, sir.
Okay, all right. That's all the questions I have for the detective. Thank you.
Commissioner Duffy or Commissioner Snoops, any questions?
No question.
Okay. Well, now we're going to let you present your case. If there's anything you want the board to know, we want the board to consider, now's your one opportunity to present that information to the board, and then we'll see if the chairman or either of the other commissioners have any questions, okay?
하고 싶은 얘기 지금
My mistake anyway, that's it.
한 사람당 얘기를 한 사람씩.
We have checked the IDs a little more, perfectly check up the ID after. I'm already checked the ID. Thank you.
Okay.
Questions, Mr. Chairman?
No, I appreciate that. Unfortunately, you weren't there. Mr. Lee was. Yeah, I know how it's feeling. You have no management agreement, correct? Yes, as in no.
We are both working.
You're both licensees. You don't need a management agreement.
Yeah.
So, and I understand that. I am a little bit concerned, though. Is there ever a time where the two of yous aren't in the store at the same time? And
Yeah, usually same time.
There's always one of them.
there's always one of them. Okay, all right. Well, you might want to think about having a management agreement just in case something was to happen unexpectedly. So I just want to maybe just give you a little heads up, a little warning on that. I have no further questions.
Commissioner Duffy, any questions?
No question.
Commissioner Snoops? All right. Mr.
Okay.
Chairman?
Yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Lee, I think our records indicate the last time there was a violation like this was in 2007. Congratulations. That's a long, long time to go without a violation. I'm very, very happy to see it. And I'm taking that into consideration. This would have been the first offense, the first time in the last 5 years. And you have the option, or had the option, of paying this off and chose not to. So you wanted to come in, and we totally understand and accept that. So thank you for that. I'm gonna make a motion because you did make the sale. And whether or not you asked her for the license and she, did or did not answer, that is immaterial. The fact is you sold it to a minor without seeing some kind of proof. So hopefully you understand that. With that being said, I'm going to make a motion that we find you guilty of the violation. I'm going to make a motion that the fine be $500 for each offense. So it's a total of $1,000. And please keep in mind that if they were to reoccur, have to come back in, it's going to be extremely higher, or much higher than that next time. So my motion is a $500 fine for each of the two charges. Looking for a second.
I second the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner. I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the administration will send you a letter and explain everything to you.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you for your help.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, officers. Our next case is Frank Sten, J.S. Liquors. Thank you, Mr. Lyman. Anybody wishing to testify for or against, please approach the table. Remain standing and please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. You may be seated. And Mr. Lyman, we'll start with your name and address, please.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. Brian Lyman, L-Y-M-A-N. I'm in Annapolis, Maryland.
Matal Patel, 20951 Freedom Run Drive, Lexington Park, Maryland, 20653.
Good evening. Carla Poole, 221 Duke of Gloucester Street, Annapolis, Maryland.
Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Lyman, go right ahead. Present your client's case by way of proper testimony or a combination of both.
Thank you, Mr. Fraley. Chairman, Commissioners, I'm here to present a change of officer application for the establishment known as Frank's Den. There are no other changes to the operation of the establishment aside from a change of the majority owner, who's going to be Mital Patel. She's going to acquire Mr. Vyas's interest. Mr. Vyas has been the licensee on this for, I believe, 5 or 6 years since the board approved his application. Ms. Patel is a resident of St. Mary's County. She's in the process of finishing up college and then I believe will be involved in the operation of this establishment. Currently, there are a number of managers who operate the establishment, and Mr. Vyas has need to get off the license forthwith. He's indicated that he needs to be finished with his involvement at Frank's Den. I don't have any more details on that. I just understand that we need to change officers. So we're not selling the assets of the business or anything. Ms. Patel is acquiring Mr. Vyas' stock in the company. And at the same time, the other qualifier, the local qualifier, Ms. Crystal Clark, has moved on from her employ at my law firm and has expressed some desire to be off the license as well. So what we have is a substitution of both of the officers we present to the board, who we hope are fit and proper individuals to hold the license. I have explained to both of them their responsibilities under the board's rules and regulations. I've asked them to review the rules and regulations in detail. I've given them the Cliff Notes version, if you will, of the important issues and the typical pitfalls for licensees before the board. I will explain also that Ms. Poole is an attorney licensed to practice law and practices at Hillman, Brown & Darrow. She understands the implications for being a licensee and being the qualifier on this license. She is the local face of the license, if you will, until Ms. Patel finishes her studies and moves up from St. Mary's County. I believe the paperwork for the application is in order, and I just ask each of the applicants to affirm the truth and accuracy of all of the allegations and assertions made in their prior application. Would you do that, Ms. Patel? Just affirm the truth and accuracy of your application. That's what you say. Just go ahead and say it. Everything in my application is true and accurate.
Everything in my application is true and accurate.
Okay. And Ms. Poole, is that correct for you also?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. I'd be happy to answer questions of the board. We anticipate no changes in the operation. The establishment is a Class D establishment. It's largely staffed by managers who handle the operation on site. As the chairman, I'm sure, recalls, we had a few issues that we hopefully have cleaned up at Frank's Den in the interim, and I believe that they haven't had any violations or issues in approximately 18 months or 2 years from when those issues were kindly brought to the licensee's attention by the board. That ends my presentation. As I said, I'm happy to try to explain any other details, but both of these individuals are fit and proper licensees to hold the license before the board, and I submit them as the same.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lyman. Mr. Chairman, questions?
A couple quick questions, Mr. Lyman. Thank you for bringing up the history, and I'm sure you've shared that with both of them and they're aware of it. because the board surely is, so thank you for
Absolutely,
doing
Mr.
that.
Chairman.
Yeah, no, thank you. Question one, are there any changes to your hours of the operation at all on either side, packaged goods side or the bar side?
No.
No, okay, thank you. There is presently a management agreement for Frank's Inn. Are you going to keep that exactly the way it is? Are you keeping your employees the same? It's not that you have to, I'm just curious about the management agreement, because we feel, generally speaking, it's important that it stays intact
Yes.
with some employees, not necessarily these. Okay, very good. I have no further questions, thank you.
Commissioner Duffy, any questions?
No question.
Commissioner Snoops?
No questions.
Anything you want to add, Mr. Lyman?
Nothing further.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, again, thanks to all. I appreciate the clarity on this one, and I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we accept the change of officers majority. Looking for a second.
A second.
Thank you, Commissioner Duffy. I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Have a
Thank
good
you very
evening.
much, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners.
Okay, our next case is for 100 Lots Kitchen and Bar, S&J Group LLC. Stephanie Fennell, member. Jeffrey H. Megan, member. Inspector Vin Pelletier. This is for a transfer. Currently, Donna Duran, sole member on behalf of Broadneck Grill, Edgewater LLC, trading as 100 Lots Kitchen and Bar, located at 74 Central Avenue West, Edgewater, Maryland, 21037. It's a Class H beer, wine, liquor, entertainment, and Sunday license with outdoor dining. It is restricted as of June 11th, 2014. 1, operating hours Monday to Friday, 11 a.m. to 1:30 a.m., Saturday and Sunday, 8 a.m. to 1:30 a.m. 2, all employees serving alcohol must be alcohol awareness certified. Anyone wishing to testify for or against, thank you for approaching. If you could raise your right hands for me. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thanks. You may be seated. And if you could, starting here with your name and address for the record.
My name is Stephanie Fennell, and 74 Central Avenue West, Edgewater, Maryland.
Jeffrey Meehan, 74 Central Avenue West, Edgewater, Maryland.
Thank you very much.
All right, guys, thanks for being here tonight. This is your chance to present your case to the board. You can do it in any way you choose. You could proffer testimony, ask each other's questions if you want to. If there's any documentary evidence that you want the board to consider, make sure that you let the board know. The board will accept it and go from there. But we'll turn the floor over to you and then see if the commissioners have any questions, okay?
Okay. We purchased the business from Donna Duran, Broadneck Grill, in September of 2023. We are just transferring the liquor license into our name. We've been open since November, plan to continue to be open. Myself and Jeffrey are tip certified, as well as all of our employees that are on the floor serving alcohol. Our hours are 11 to 9, and then 11 to 10 on the weekends. We don't plan on changing too much. That's really it.
Sorry, anything you'd like to add?
No, sir.
All right, Mr. Chairman, questions?
I have one, but it's more out of curiosity. Well, I have two. First one is, do you have any financial interest in any other license, alcohol license, anywhere in the state of Maryland?
No.
Neither of you. Okay, thank you. The other question is, do you mind if I ask you how you came up with the name 100 Lots? It's curiosity only. It's not pertinent.
The Maryland General Assembly of 1632 established in London town a deep water, they carved out 100 lots because it was a deep water port. So in order to bring commerce and people to the area, they carved out 100 lots to gift to people to help bring business to the area. That's our goal as well.
We're just history nerds.
Very interesting. I assume you're going to put that on the front of your menu or something, because
Yeah.
I really think you should.
It's on the back, yep.
Okay, very good. All right, I have no further questions. Thank you.
Any questions, Commissioner Duffy?
You indicated that you weren't changing the hours. So are you changing the hours from 11 to 9
So
at all?
the hours that were on our application that we sent is 11 a.m. to 9, and then 11 to 10 on Friday and Saturday, and that's what we intend on keeping.
Okay,
Yeah.
I want to make sure that
Yeah.
you intend on keeping those hours.
Yes. That's what we plan on. We don't plan on being open until 1:30 or anything. That's not.
Okay, thank you. That's the last of my question.
Commissioner Snoops, any questions?
Okay, thank you for answering both the one official and one unofficial question. I'm going to make a motion that we accept this. I'm looking for a second for the issuance of the license.
I second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Good night. Congratulations.
Thank you for your time.
Congrats,
You're
guys.
welcome. Thank you.
Our next case is a Lupus Ribbon, Eva LLC. Panagiotis, a Lupus president, Inspector Alvin Few. This license is not restricted. It's for transfer currently. Panagiotis, a Lupus member, Eric C. Davey member, and Jonathan E. Pastrick member on behalf of Poor Dog House LLC. Trading as Poor Dog House. 722 Generals Highway, Millersville, Maryland, 20815. It's for Class B, beer, wine, liquor, dancing, and Sunday license with outdoor service. If you could, please raise your right hands. Thank you. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. You may be seated, and if you could, state your name and address for the record, please.
I'm sorry, before you do that, are you represented by Brian Lyman? No. Okay, gotcha. My fault.
Panagiotis Lupus, but you can call me Pete.
Thanks, Pete. And your address?
The business address?
That would be fine.
The business address is 722 Generals Highway, Millersville, Maryland, 21108.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Agela Lupus. I'm Pete's sister. 722 Generals Highway, Millersville, Maryland, 21108.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. You guys got to see somebody go before you. So this is your opportunity to present your case to the board. Feel free to let the board know what you're looking for. If there are any, any documents that you want the commissioners to consider, make sure you offer them up. The board will take a look and consider them, but we'll turn the floor over to you.
Thank you. So we owned 722 Generals Highway. It's the old Doors corner at the intersection of Veterans Highway and Generals Highway. Our parents ran the business there for many, many years, beginning in the mid-'80s. My sister and I have worked there. I worked in the kitchen, and she was a waitress. Our grandparents, when they visited from Greece, would stay upstairs. So we have a long history with the property. Our parents operated as a Lupus Rib Inn, some of the best ribs in Anne Arundel County. I didn't get this big by accident. When we were moving recently and we found our dad's wallet, and inside we found the long-lost recipe for their barbecue sauce. So we're excited about bringing that back. So we have a long history, both as the owners of the property and as the operators. More recently, I'm currently on the liquor license for Poor Dog House. It's me and my friend Eric Davey and Jonathan Pastrick, who's an attorney with Brian Lyman's office. His mom was actually my sister's guidance counselor at Elizabeth Seton High School. So we have a history with Jonathan as well. Poor Dog House closed at the end of last year. They weren't able to make it. We renewed the license, the liquor license, and now we're requesting to transfer it to EVA LLC. Those are the initials of our parents. Our father died, our mother died at 56 and dad at 63 years old. So EVA LLC is their initials, and we're requesting to transfer the license from Poor Dog House to EVA LLC, which is me, as a new licensee, and we're trying to reopen the restaurant as soon as possible. It's been closed since the end of 2024. And so here we are.
No, 23.
Oh, yeah, 2023.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
okay. That's okay. I caught it, but
Appreciate it.
I have no questions. I'm familiar with your previous establishment and everything and a little bit, so no questions.
Commissioner Duffy, questions?
No question.
Commissioner Stewart? All right, that was easy. Mr. Chairman?
Okay. You thought the other one was fast. Okay, I'm going to make a motion that we go ahead and accept the transfer as written. I'm looking for a second.
I second the motion to accept the transfer.
Thank you, Commissioner Snoops. And I'm looking now for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. And I want to
you.
really thank the staff, Michelle, and we're going to miss Judy.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, we all
Known
are.
her for 40 years.
We all are. She said she might be out there somewhere. I've been looking, but I haven't seen her.
She's always watching.
Thank you all so much.
Hi, Judy.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Chief, next case?
Pausing for just one moment.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Okay, our next case is Preserve Wine and Spirits, Melody Ma,
Mr. Yu,
LLC.
will you waive the reading? Look, waive the reading, please. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yu. If you could remain standing and raise your right hands, please. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. Mr. Yu, we could start with you. If you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Thank you. J.U. representing the applicants, Mr. Davos Patel and Mr. Tushar Patel. My address is 3440 Ellicott Center Drive, Suite 202, Ellicott City, Maryland, 21043.
Thank you.
Tushar Patel, 424 Barbersville Road, Laurel, Maryland.
Thank you.
Dawal Patel, 9228 Homestead Court, Laurel, Maryland, 20723.
Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Yu, we'll turn the floor over to you. You can present your client's case by testimony, proffer, combination of both, whichever way you'd like to proceed.
If I may, I would like to proffer.
Sure.
This is a request for transfer of a Class A license with Sunday permit and beer wine liquor tasting. This is a location, the address is 7698 Dorchester Boulevard, Hanover, Maryland. It's in the Arundel Preserve Shopping Center. It's a respectable wine shop, and Mr. Tushar and Mr. DeVoe, Mr. DeVoe will be 60% owner, and Mr. Tushar will be 40% owner, but Mr. Tushar will be the daily operator, and Mr. DeVoe will help out whenever he can, since he's a professional accountant. So they're partnering up to start this business. However, Mr. Tushar brings the experience. He has experience working at a liquor establishment, and Mr. Duval also has experience in North Carolina, I believe?
Yes, it's in North Carolina.
He was a licensee in North Carolina. While he was licensed there, he had no violations, and unfortunately, Mr. Tushar does have a violation from 2017, but I'm sure he learned his lesson, and for the past 7 years, he had no violation whatsoever. Both of them are certified, and they have 2 employees, Mr. Sanjay and Mr. Vipul. Mr. Sanjay will be the manager, so we will be submitting the manager's application, and I believe Mr. Sanjay is a U.S. citizen and fluent in English, so he qualifies. I believe both Mr. Davo, I'm sorry, I'm calling you Davo and Mr. Tushar are qualified since they have no criminal record. They are of person of good moral character, and they bring the experience. And Mr. Tushar is a Anne Arundel County resident. There will not be any changes to the floor layout or changing the hours of operation. Presently, it's the Monday through Thursday, 10 to 9, and Friday, 10 to 10, and Sunday, 10 to 7:30. I have given them the rules and regulations, and both Mr. Davo and Tushar have read it, and they understand it, and I make sure that they're fully aware of it. They do have an ID scanner, which is built into the POS system, so that will definitely help them with the compliance checks. I believe that's pretty much I have. If the commissioners have any questions for the applicants.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. I do have a question for the licensees. Do you have any other financial interest in any other liquor license anywhere in the state of Maryland?
No.
Neither of you do. Okay, thank you. And you say Mr. Sanjay is still going to be? Yeah, he's.
As a manager.
Yes, he's, I am familiar with him, and he's very, very good at what he does.
True.
So
Since 2000.
good, that'd be good for you.
Six.
I have no further questions.
Commissioner Duffy, any questions?
No question.
Commissioner Stoops? No questions. All right, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, well, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we accept this new license, or transfer and upgrade, actually. Looking for a second.
Second.
Thank you. You see, my head gets an exercise right about now. Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Duffy. I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Congratulations. Lots of luck. And please be careful out there.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Our next case is Wharf 38. Wharf 38. Thank you, Mr. Carter. And anybody wishing to testify for or against, please approach the table. And please remain standing and raise your right hands for me. Thank you. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes. Thank you very much. You may be seated. And if you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Jay Seymour, 479 Deal Road, Deal, Maryland.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Melissa Seymour, 479 Deal Road, Deal, Maryland.
Thank you. And Mr. Carter, thank you, sir.
Benjamin Carter, Carter Law LLC, 11720 Beltsville Drive, Suite 100, Beltsville, Maryland, 20705.
Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Carter, good to see you this evening. We'll turn it over to you. You can present your client's case by way of proper testimony or a combination of both. I would note that you just handed out several exhibits. We'll admit those.
Thank you.
And I don't need a copy.
Okay.
We'll admit those as applicant's exhibit 1, and we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Prayerly. With me this evening, I have the applicants Jay and Melissa Seymour. They have purchased the restaurant formerly trading as Cappy's on Rockwell Creek, and they have re-envisioned it into something that is pretty unique, I think. Wharf 38 is a waterfront restaurant that has boat slips, has crabs available, but it also has a menu that is more refined. If the board would turn to Exhibit 2, you can see that, the menu has watermelon summer salad, has, a wide array of modern takes on some classics, such as a healthier version of buffalo wings with buffalo artichokes. And with that, they've also put in a significant amount of time and labor and resources into remodeling the interior of the premises. And unfortunately, I don't have a picture of it, but Jay was showing me earlier in the evening a table that they have installed with oyster shells. And they've, what's the? Epoxy. They've epoxied oyster shells. So it looks like an oyster reef. And those kind of small touches that provide a unique upscale take on something that Anne Arundel County loves, which is seafood outdoors. There have been no changes to the application since it's been submitted. Everything in the application is true and correct. And I'd respectfully request that this application be approved.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Duffy, questions?
No questions, I just like the menu.
We'll have to come
Very
visit.
much like that.
And I knew he was going there with that. That's right.
Yes.
If you want to get to that commissioner's heart, you do what you did. Show them pictures of your menu.
Yes.
Commissioner Snoop, do you have any questions? All right, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, with that being said, I'm going to go right to a motion. I'm going to make a motion that we go ahead and accept the transfer. Looking for a second. Thank you, Commissioner Snoop. Do I have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Mr. Carter, you're not going anywhere, are you?
No, I might as well stay right here.
Congratulations. Our final case of the evening is Cracker Barrel. Thank you, Mrs. Carter. Appreciate that.
Congratulations, you guys. You know what? I have to tell the board, I looked at their appetizer menu, deep fried artichokes, whipped goat cheese, and crab dip. I don't need dinner.
Thank you all.
Thank you. And if you could all remain standing, please, and raise your right hands for me. Thank you very much. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you very much. You may be seated. And Mr. Carter, we'll start with you again.
I'm going to give my home address this time. Benjamin Carter, 1441 Chatham Court, Crofton, Maryland, 21114.
Thank you.
Jean Shuttleworth, 178 Clifftop Drive, Hendersonville, Tennessee, 37075.
Joshua Mayo, 2706 Paddock Park Drive, Thompson Station, Tennessee, 37179.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, staff, council. For the record, my name is Linda Carter with Carter Law LLC, 11720 Beltsville Drive, Suite 100, Beltsville, Maryland, 20705.
Thank you.
And it is always a pleasure to be before you, and especially tonight with the Cracker Barrel. This, assuming things go as we planned, will be our second Cracker Barrel location in Anne Arundel County. It'll be the first double location in the state for a single county. This is the old Fuddrucker site outside of Annapolis Mall. Unfortunately, we are still waiting for permits to actually begin construction. However, we are cautiously optimistic that they are going to issue in October, and we're looking at approximately a 6-month build out. So if things go perfectly, April, not so perfectly, May or June. That's our goal, at least. I know this board is very familiar with Cracker Barrel, and we do have exhibit books for you all. If I could please have that introduced as applicant's exhibit number 1.
Absolutely.
That's what we already have.
We did email them, so it is all together.
I think we've got it.
This location sits on 1.364 acres of property. It'll have approximately 166 seats. The total building, and it includes the store portion of it, is 9,170 square feet. There is a porch of 1,300 square feet, as is the case in all of the Maryland locations. No alcohol is served on the porch. No alcohol is permitted to leave the dining room. Alcohol is strictly for customers seated at a table, and hopefully all ordering meals. We haven't had any people come in just to drink. In fact, unfortunately, right now in Maryland, our food alcohol ratio is better than 99% food, less than 1% alcohol. We need to change that, and we're working on that. But if you look at the menu, and I believe the menu is at 13 and 14, alcohol is not prominently displayed. And as was the case when we previously appeared before you, the way in which the drink's prepared is still very limited. Everything is basically in a pre-measured format. It's restricted to mimosas, a wider selection in beer and wine than when we previously appeared before you. But that's really it. And there has not been a major advertising campaign to let the public know that it's out there. This location will probably have roughly 120 employees between part-time and full-time. The Cracker Barrel concept requires all managers and shift leaders to be alcohol awareness certified. but every single employee that is engaged in the service or possession of alcohol actually takes a training class that mimics the TIPS class. It's just that they're not taking the state-approved test to fully become certified. The three people before you have filed an application in connection with this. I would proffer that there have been no changes to the application since it was filed, and that there have been no changes to the status of each of the individual applicants. Ben Carter is in fact a Maryland resident and lives here in Arundel County, and is also a registered voter. I can continue, or I can, as a judge once told me, shut up and sit down.
We are very used to your presentation, Ms. Carter. And I'm sitting here looking for a question to ask. Well, I do have a few. First one is in reference to the licensees. If they have any, and this is for them to answer.
Okay.
Do they have any interest in any other liquor licenses within the state of Maryland?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Okay. I just need you to declare that, and that's what it's about. And
Yep.
I wasn't looking for you to do
No,
it, so thank you.
Nope, that's fine, Mr. Chairman. I understand.
Okay. And my next question is,
Just for the record, I do have an interest in other licenses in the state of Maryland as well.
okay, thank you. I appreciate it. I would imagine, because the county is in their due process, you probably got all your supplies, construction supplies ready, and you're ready to, and biting at the bit to get started. So what do you think your build-out time would be once you get your permits in hand?
It's about 6 months.
6 months.
We hope to open April of next year.
That's not for me. It's for my wife. Okay, no, that was a
And I
bit of
promise there
curiosity.
will be an old country store there.
Yes.
Yes. I have no further questions. Commissioners?
No question.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
All right. Thank you for answering both of my questions. I do want to point out before I make a motion, management agreements are very, very important. You've probably, and I'm sure Ms. Carter or Mr. Carter or both are made you well aware of that. We don't expect the licensees to be on the premises, especially with such a large corporation, but we do expect you to have a properly trained and documented with our board a list of managers. So anytime our inspector, and your inspector is Inspector Slocum, if he or any of the inspectors come in, they're going to ask for a manager, and that manager must have his or her name on that management agreement. So please keep that. With that, I'm going to make a motion that we go ahead and accept the new license. Looking for a second?
Second.
Did I already do that?
Nope.
No.
Okay. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Please come see us.
10 minutes.
I'm telling
Are you
you.
impressed? Huh?
He doesn't want to end it.